And for more, I'm joined by Brigadier General Yossi Kuperwasser, who is a Senior Project Manager at the Jerusalem Centre for Public Affairs and a former Director General of the Ministry of International Affairs and Strategy. Brigadier General, thank you so much for coming on today. Firstly, what can we make of all of this after, we saw talks being extremely stagnant for quite a while, with neither party really wanting to budge?
Yeah, well, I don't think that we have now a major breakthrough. It's just readiness to discuss, and even that is not direct discussions, but indirect discussions. So it's too early to say if there's a breakthrough on that issue. And anyhow, a breakthrough is not usually, when you say a breakthrough is something positive. In this case, a breakthrough is something negative, unfortunately. So we should not look for something to happen immediately. The Iranians are ready to discuss something that is in their benefit, and the Americans are ready to discuss something that is in their disadvantage, which is something strange, but this is the case. And that's why I believe that in the end, they will find a way to join the JCPOA again, but not immediately. It's still a matter of pride for both sides to discuss who's going to make the first move. And until now, I haven't seen any of them really, or especially not the Iranians, ready to make any budge on that issue.
And we definitely know that Israel will be watching all of this very, very closely. We've heard warnings from top-ranking officials warning against reviving the JCPOA. Tell me, Brigadier General, how will Israel be taking in this news?
I mean, if it really leads to re-entering of the United States to the JCPOA, Israel is going to be very concerned, because what is the JCPOA? The JCPOA is a plan that guarantees Iran a safe path to having a big arsenal of nuclear weapons in 10 years. That's the JCPOA. And yes, it gives 10 years, but without the JCPOA, Iran cannot produce nuclear weapons anyhow, without crossing a certain threshold in which it's going to be vulnerable to any act by either the United States or Israel. So it's the JCPOA is something very dangerous for the security of Israel, for the security of the Middle East, for the security of the world. That's why Israel is going to be watching very closely what's going to happen, and with a lot of concern. And I think that Israel is going to probably try in the coming days again to convince the Americans that this is a mistake. In my mind, it's a big mistake. And if we fall short of explaining that to the Americans, we shall have to reconsider what we can do, because if there is going to be a JCPOA, the capabilities of Israel are going to be limited, and we shall have to live with the consequences of something like that.
So if they do re-engage and this nuclear pact is revived, how can we know that Iran will stick to it, seeing as though we've seen Iran stray further and further from these initial terms?
There's no way to know, because except for good intelligence. But the agreement itself doesn't give you any real tools to know what's going on, because the inspections are only at declared sites. And of course, the Iranians, you can blame them for all kinds of things, but not for being stupid and develop nuclear weapons at declared sites. So it's and actually the IAEA just found 2 sites in which the Iranians were conducting military activities regarding their nuclear project that were not declared at all. So it's going to be very difficult to know out of the agreement. Now, the idea of the Americans is that after everybody goes back to the agreement, then there will be discussions on changes in the agreement and a better agreement that maybe also will deal with better inspections and will guarantee that there's going to be some limits on ballistic missiles developments and so on and so forth. But if you give up the only leverage you have over the Iranians to convince them to go in this direction, namely you lift the sanctions, what is the incentive that the Iranians are going to have to go back to negotiations and show some flexibility in the negotiations and allow a new agreement that limits their freedom? I don't think that this is going to happen.
Yeah, all right there. Brigadier General Yossi Kuperwasser, it's been lovely chatting to you, and thank you so much for your input.
Thank you.